Today, let's learn how to single crochet. You're going to want some worsted weight yarn. This is yarn that has a weight of 4. You're also going to want a crochet hook. I'm using a 4.5mm hook. You're going to want 2 stitch markers, a yarn needle, and scissors. Let's go ahead and get started. To begin, create a slip knot. And I'm going to start by chaining 11. If you need to know how to chain or how to hold your yarn or make the slip knot, refer to my other video, which is linked below. So chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Make sure that the V's of your chain are all facing the same direction, and make sure that your chain is loose enough that your hook can easily pass through. When you single crochet, it has what's called a turning chain. A turning chain gives your project space to move upward. So in this single crochet sample, we're going to have 10 stitches in each row. So never count the loop that's on the hook, and we'll look below that. So looking at my chain, I have 1 V right here. That's going to be my turning chain. And then the second V is where I'm going to start my single crochet. So not the loop on the hook, not the first one next to it, but the second V from the hook. So we're going to start in our second chain, and we're going to single crochet. To single crochet, put your hook through the chain, just that top side of that little V, yarn over, and pull up a loop. You'll now have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again. Make sure that the hook is turned so it's pointing towards the bottom of the loops, and pass through both. This is our first single crochet. So you can see that it looks a lot like a chain, and you can see the little V stitch. We're going to mark this V stitch by taking one of our stitch markers and placing it under both sides of that V. That will help us later. You'll notice that this chain right here is all stretched out. That's because we've already used it. So if I go into the next V right here, poke it through this chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, turn your hook, and pass through both loops. That's our second single crochet. So this is number 1 and number 2. So you can see this chain is all stretched out. We've already used it. So we're going to go to the next one. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go through both loops. Go into the next chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, turn, and go through both loops. Go into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through both. We've now completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochet. Notice that each stitch creates a little V. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 V's. I want 10. So I'm going to go into the next chain, the one that's not stretched out, pull up a loop, yarn over, turn, and go through both. Go into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through both. Notice that I am using this hand to hold my chain. I'm using this hand to make sure that it doesn't spin around and move on me. As I'm making these single crochet stitches, I want my chain always facing the same direction. I always want my chain, the V's facing me. So hold your chain so it doesn't spin. Hold your chain so those V's are facing you. So go into your next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2. Go into your next V, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2. Into the last chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2. Always be careful and count your stitches. Sometimes the slip knot can look like a chain, but it's not, so always count. So starting from my marker, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is just what I wanted. Now to get to the next row, I need some height. I need to be able to go up. So to give myself the height to go up, I need a turning chain. So I'm going to chain 1. So just like you are making a chain, yarn over and pull through. Then turn your project. And we're going to start the next row. Just like when we started before, you don't count what's on the hook. You don't count your turning chain because that just gives us space to go higher. You're going to start in the next stitch after the second stitch from the chain. And when we're single crocheting, we go under both sides of the V. So the last row we did, every stitch we made created a V. And so when you single crochet on your second row, you want to go under both sides of the V. So when I put my hook in, it doesn't go in the middle here. It goes through the front and under both sides of that V. So let me show you that again. So this is what it looks like from the side. That's what it looks like from the top. I'm not using this stitch, I'm using this one, and I want to place my hook under both this side and this side of the V. So I want it to go under both. And I'm putting it right in that little gap right there. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, go through both, turning my hook. And there's my first single crochet of round 2. So I'm going to grab my next stitch marker, put it under both sides of the loop, and lock it. That's my stitch 1. And now I'm going to get ready to make my next stitch. Here's my next V right here. I want to go under both sides of the V. Stitch number 3. Go under both sides of that V. Stitch number 4. Go under both sides of the V. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2. When you're looking at it from the side, you can see these little grooves. That's where your hook goes. So when I do my next stitch, it goes in that little section right there. So this is the one I used last time. This is the section next time. and you can see that that places the hook under both sides of the V. When I get to the end of the row, my last stitch has my marker. I know this is where I want to stop, so I'm not quite done yet. I have to go into the stitch that has my marker. So right where my marker is, I go under there, and this should be my last stitch. So now I want to count, make sure I have 10. So I'm gonna go from where my marker was last time, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yep, I've got enough stitches. Now to do my next row, I have to make a turning chain. So I'm gonna chain 1 and turn my project. And I'm gonna single crochet again, not counting the loop on the hook and not counting my turning chain. I'm gonna go into the second V from the hook, and I'm gonna go under both loops, both sides of the V. Yarn over, pull it up, yarn over, go through both. And that is my new first stitch. That's the first stitch of row 3. Now this marker that I put in before I don't need anymore, so I'm gonna take the marker out of there and I'm gonna put it right around my first stitch that I just made. And then I'm gonna keep going, and I need 10. Again, these little grooves here are where you put your hook. And when you put your hook through those grooves, it should go under both sides of your V's. Notice I'm using this hand to hold my yarn and my project. I'm gonna hold my project so it doesn't spin on me. My last stitch should be the one with the marker, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, you never count the one on the hook. Chain 1 and turn. In the second V from the hook, go under both sides of the V, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both. First stitch of round 4, so I'm going to move my marker and put it under my first stitch. I'm going to keep going for a couple more rows so that you can see. go under the second V, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through both, and mark your stitch. The stitch markers are really important, so is counting after each row. I find if you don't, your project often isn't a rectangle. Instead, it shrinks or grows, which means you're missing or gaining stitches, which we definitely don't want unless it's on purpose. If your project has a lot of holes or gaps, it could be because your hook is too big, or it could be because your crochet is either way too loose or way too tight. Make sure when you do your stitches, you're not pulling your yarn super hard, and it should be easy to poke your hook through. If it's not easy to poke your hook through, you're probably chaining a little too tightly. When you're ready to fasten off, clip your yarn. You don't want to clip it super close. It's best to leave at least 6 inches. I usually leave more than that. Yarn over and pull it through like you're making a chain, but pull it all the way through and pinch it tight. That's called fastening off. And you can remove your markers now. When you finish your sample, if you've counted all of your rows, it should end up in the shape of a rectangle. If it's not a rectangle, if it's shrinking or growing, you could have dropped or added stitches. So just make sure you use your stitch markers and count each row. The next thing you have to do is figure out what to do with these tails. In crochet, you don't want to simply cut off the yarn. If you do, it can unravel and come apart. So you're going to want to weave in the ends, and you're going to use a yarn needle. This has a blunt tip. My favorite type is metal and has a little bent end. And the first thing you're gonna do is thread your needle. What I like to do is wrap the yarn over the end of the needle and pinch it tight, and then slide the needle out, still pinching tight, and it creates a tiny little thin rectangle. And then I'll put the needle over it. And then I'm going to work the needle through the back of the stitches. I'm just going to poke it through the side. And under some stitches. I don't like to see it on the front, so if I can, I only go through stitches on the back. And pull it through. That's probably sufficient for this little sample, but if I was doing a bigger project, I would then turn and go back the other direction. And then I'll clip it off. I find that sometimes I can see the tail on my stitches, so when I weave in the tails, I like to do them both on the same side. That way I can kind of have a right side and a wrong side to my sample. So now I'm going to weave in the other side. So I'm going to wrap the yarn over my needle, pinch it, and slide it through. I'm going to make sure I'm looking at the side with the other yarn tail. I'm going to go under some stitches. I usually go under 5 to 8 stitches. And then I'm going to turn around and go the other direction. I find sometimes weaving in the tails pulls it a bit, so then I usually try and loosen it up, get it back to its shape, and that's single crochet. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, happy crocheting.